Okay, so let's get started. So hello friends, welcome to Make Money While You Sleep community. Today we are going to learn how to make money even if stocks don't move. And basically this is around learning strangle strategy. So we'll go through the strangle strategy on options. Couple of disclaimers. This content is purely for educational purpose. It is not intended to be an investment or a financial advice. So option basics we have already covered in all of our classes. So 100 shares, expiry date and a strike price. That's what is options all about. Just like any other trade, we have a buyer and a seller. Hence there is a trade which is happening on options. Options revolves around the premium. So buyer buys an option by paying a premium to the seller. Options work pretty much like an insurance. And there are two type of options, call and put. So again, I have covered all of them in my previous sessions. Okay, so coming to the strangle strategy. In this particular strategy, we have one call and one put on a different strike price, but with the same expiry date. All right. So I'll try to show you with the example, but basically in the strategy, we have one call and one put basically on a different strike price. So this is how the graphical representation of a triangle looks like. The put strike is here, over here, and the call strike is here. Okay. And I'm just trying to show you the short triangle. Basically, we are trying to sell a triangle, and this is a graphical representation of only short triangle. Long triangle, it will be exactly opposite to this. If you can invert it, it will be like that. And I'll cover why long triangle I don't like. Generally I like short triangle. So this is a profile for this. If the stock price remains between this put strike and a call strike, then you are going to make profit. But if stock price will go below put strike or it will go below call strike, you will start making losses. All right. So this is how it works. And as our topic of the today's session is about how to make money while stocks are not moving. So you can easily see if stocks are not moving. Let's say stock is in this area, right? And you are expecting that stock won't move for next 2 months, 3 months. Then this is a good strategy because you will keep making money if stock remains within this range. So short triangle is a neutral strategy and pays off if the stock does not move much. Okay. So let me move forward. Okay, so let's quickly cover this example. I have taken an Apple triangle. So as I mentioned, the buy triangle generally is not of a good purpose, and I'll cover buy later. So we'll try to mainly focus on the selling of this triangle, but pretty much they are the opposite trades to each other. So let's cover Apple sell triangle. What I have done in this case is I am selling one put at 110 strike and I'm selling one call at 140 strike. All right. Similarly, buyer is also doing the similar thing. He's buying one put at 110 and he's buying one call at 140. So as a seller, I am collecting $282 for this particular trade. So if I try to match this, I have 140 call and 110 put. Okay. If I try to match this, 140 will come here. All right. And 110 will come here in this area. So Apple at $121 today, strangle traded between buyer and seller for April 16th and premium of $282 correct has been collected. Same thing, seller sells that strangle to the buyer, hence there is a trade happening and seller is collecting the premium. So what all can happen on the expiry? The first scenario is Apple goes above $140 or it goes below $110 on the expiry date, right? It will basically come out of this range. It will fall really hard below 110 or it will go above 140, break all that range too. So in this particular case, buyer is going to win according to the call or a put. So ultimately buyer has bought one put and one call. So the properties of those put and call are getting applied when stock is moving beyond those ranges. Okay. So let's say if it goes above 140, let's say it goes to 160. So the difference is around $20, right? So he's going to make money with on that $20 uh, difference. And buyer's win is going to be the seller's loss, but seller is always going to keep the premium. This is the advantage of selling options. The second scenario is if Apple remains between 110 and $140. So in that particular case, buyer is not going to make any money. He will lose even premium of $282 what he has paid to the seller, and seller will keep the premium of $282. So if so, this is a real life example. If you see the Apple strangle here, kind of strangle this is, right? How many times Apple has gone below 110? And if we see even now when market has crashed, even now Apple is at around $121. So I'm not saying it can never fall until $110, but all I'm saying is when you try to sell a strangle, you take all those conscious decision that okay, that stock will not go so low. So we know that Apple will always keep in that, will remain in that range mostly. So we can sell a strangle on that. And let's see what has been the highest price, 143. Okay, so maybe we can also sell a strangle on Apple at 150. Only thing is Apple can be bullish, and if he is sending any innovative news or good news, maybe it can breach that 150 price too. But if we see overall, Apple is quite of a stable stock. It is not it has always moved in a particular range. So I have sold strangles on Apple in past. I might start selling them again, given that now market is going towards the bearish side. So I know now it is not going to start breaching my calls. So maybe now it's a good time to start thinking of strangles too, and this is a good time that we are doing this session.
Varun, I have a question.
Yes.
What if, let's say, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It's a stable stock. It may not go too high. It may not go too low.
Yeah.
But let's say news comes in and Apple makes a really big stride. Let's went up to 170 or 180.
Yeah.
So you lose that difference between 180 and 140, right? So you lose
Yes.
basically $40 per share, right?
Yes. That is always the case. Whenever you are selling a put or you are selling a call, and if it gets breached, we are always in that risk. So
And
that
tell
is
me
the risk
one
we
thing.
are undertaking.
Yeah, if you have, let's say if you own Apple shares, I have 100 shares of Apple
Yes.
already in my portfolio.
Yes.
And normally, what we do is sell covered call. Can
Yes.
I play strangle with my shares in my portfolio?
Very good question. Yes, you can do that. It is called covered short strangle.
Okay.
So in that case, you are actually getting better benefit out of it because you have a strangle and you are able to collect a credit of that, as well as you have already safeguarded yourself for your upside.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So, and generally I do covered strangle. In fact, I can show you examples of covered strangle and even the naked strangle. But yes, covered strangle is a very good strategy, especially in a stock like Apple, where you are either keeping those stocks already or you want to own it anyway, right? So what will
Mm-hmm.
happen? Let's say stock will go to 110, right? So you will own those stocks.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have got 100 stocks. You will again do a strangle, and if let's say stock goes to 140, you anyway are covered. So yeah, this is a good strategy. Good question. All right. Any other question, guys? So this is a good strategy when you have, you know that there is a stability in a stock, and you know that this stock is mostly going to be in a range. Of course, we never know the future. Anything could happen, but we are more or less, confident that this should move in a range in that particular timeline. Even if I see T, AT&T, AT&T is a very stable stock, as I have at least observed. It does not move too much. So except when in February, March, when market crashed last year, other than that, you can see this is moving. It came to around $30, and since then it has been moving to 29, $30. It has never moved more than that. So if you sell a strangle here, uh, let's say you make a strangle of 28 and 34, it most of the time it should pay you. Only thing is, I think premiums are not that great, but overall this is a very stable stock. So I sold strangle on this one too.
Varun, one more question.
Yes.
So if you sell naked put only, and
Yes.
when you compare naked put versus strangle, do you get more premium with strangle?
Yes. That is
Okay.
the advantage. I'll cover that too. So if you see this particular credit, what we are getting here, this is a combination of premium collected from call and premium collected from selling a put, both of them. So key takeaway, guys, options again have got a lot of options. Again, today we have covered one more strategy, strangle strategy. So coming to the long strangle, so which is about buying the strangle where you're buying one put and buying one call. So I do not see too much of an advantage of buying a put and buying a call together, because when you buy options, you are quite directional about your stock. You really, and you have to be directional about the stock to make money when you are buying options. So either you have to be very bullish, you know that stock will go really high, or you have to be very bearish and you know that you are going to buy a put because the stock will go low, right? But if you observe here, uh, if you will buy both put and call together, right? So you are basically saying, taking extreme decision in terms of, okay, it is either going to be going really high or above $140, or it is going to crash below $110, which is a very, very rare case scenario, right? That it will go high and low and you are expecting both. So either you will just buy a put or you will buy a call. You will not buy a strangle. So in terms of buying a strangle, it's not a good strategy. You could apply this only to a stock like GME, where within a day or two it is going really high and then it is crashing like hard. So maybe you can buy strangle there, but overall, I don't see a usage for long strangle. So coming to the short strangle,
Okay, one question.
yes.
So can you go to that graph or just the table? Yeah. So for example, when you put a call and you know that your stock might go say 160 or something, right? So you will just have a call for buy, and you'll have some premium. But if you are taking say put also, then that premium, the premium would change. The amount of premium, would it be less
You are
or
saying selling side or buying side?
buying side?
On buying side, you are paying premium for both. You're
Yeah.
buying options, right? So as a buyer, you're buying a call and buying a put, and for
Yeah.
both of the buying,
That
you
will
have to
come.
pay money.
Yeah, so it is not advisable if
Yes, because you
you
are paying
you are
money for
yeah,
both, right?
yeah,
Rather
that
than,
makes sense.
yeah, maybe you can, if you are, you have, I mean, one can decide whether you are highly bullish, maybe buy two calls or maybe
Yeah,
buy two put, but buying one put, one call, it won't help.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so coming to the short strangle, that should be the sweet spot if we are trying to work on strangles, as per my opinion. Um, so this is a neutral strategy, as we have seen. If we know and we are thinking of that this is stock is going to move in a particular range only, this is a good strategy. Minimum, if you're expecting a minimal movement or a stock to be in a range. Okay, so it pays double than a single short option, as you already asked question, Mukesh. So it pays double to you, not exactly double, but you are actually getting premium from a selling of a put. You are also getting premium from selling a call. All right. The biggest advantage of selling a strangle is you are selling two options, right? But you pay only for one. Okay. So this is the biggest advantage of selling a strangle. How? Let me show you an example here, guys. Let me take Tesla. I don't have that position. So let's say Tesla at 500. Okay, so when I'm selling Tesla, it is taking away around 7,900 of my buying power at 500 put. Let me sell a call at 800. It is taking around 3,200. So 7,000 there and 3,000 here, right? $10,000 it is taking up. So now let's see how it is going to work out if I do both together. So look at that. When I was selling a call and when I was selling a put, it was if I am doing it separately, it is taking 7,000 and it is taking 3,000 something over there. It's 10,000 or 11,000 together, or I mean separately. But if I am combining them, it is just taking my 7,500 as a buying power. All right. So ultimately, if you are selling a call and selling a put for the same timeline, everything remains same. It will only take up buying power of around one option only. Does that make sense, guys? So this is one of the biggest advantage of selling a strangle, and a lot of people sell a strangle just because of this reason. Because see, ultimately, stock is going to breach is only one position. Either Tesla will go above 800 or Tesla will go below 500, right? It won't. There are very rare cases where stock will do both. That Tesla will go first of all below 500. It will make you loss there, and once you close that particular position, then it will go up and go above 800, and then will make you loss again. So those are very rare cases. So a lot of people do this strategy because they have this advantage of using this buying power, which they have to pay only for one, but they are able to take double premium. So this is the biggest advantage of selling a strangle. However, as we can see, there is a risk on both sides. Like when we are selling a put, we know that the risk is only on the downside. If a stock goes down, only then you are in a trouble. But now when you are selling a strangle, you have trouble on both sides. If a stock goes really low or stock goes really high, in both of the side we are facing a risk. So this is a risk on disadvantage of selling a strangle. Yeah, so I think this was fairly simple. I mean, now these strategies will become really simple for us to understand since we know the basics. These things are very easy to absorb now, right? Only thing what we have to know is the nitty gritty. Like this particular thing you may not know, maybe if you wouldn't have seen it or observed it, that you are getting double premium almost, but you are just taking away a single buying power. So
Varun,
mhm.
I saw you were putting some calls in the last week or two.
Yeah,
So did you try to create strangle afterwards?
yes, that is what I was trying
Okay.
last week.
Okay.
Okay, so that was my strategy. Now you can easily see what I was trying to do there.
Right. I didn't understand. I thought maybe I'll talk to you on Sunday. So
Yeah. And I think you asked me question last week about hedging, right? That how can we manage things? So this is one of the strategy you can apply when things are not working in your favor. So if I show you the example, what I have done, let's see if we have done any strangle here. Okay, I applied a strangle strategy on frog. So even this trade has gone against me, but let's quickly see this one. So I have a strangle at 85 and at 55. Stock is around 47. So now it is this premium which I am getting from it is around $221. So it's little high. I mean now it is looking low, really bad, but I've been paid from both sides in this case. Okay. So but this is something I did right away. Let me see where I've tried to sell a call. NGA. Okay, yeah, this is where I've done this. Yeah. So see, it's just giving me $12 per contract. It's not too much. But NGA tanked really hard. So I have my strikes at around 20 to 30. So I'm selling a call for 25. There are 10 contracts I'm selling. So I have got 1, 4 plus 2 plus 6 plus 8. Ideally, I should have sold only 8 contracts. So I will have to look into it. Ideally, I should have sold 8 contracts. I think by mistake, I have sold 10 contracts. But the buying power for those 8 contracts, it will not take away from me. It will use my existing buying power. So I will have to close these two contracts from here for selling call. For workhorse also I have done the same. So I was selling put for 25. The trade went against me. So now I'm selling 6 contract for the same call. And this is paying me $226. It is just to help me break even faster or reduce my losses.
So you think that it won't come to 25 or higher
I'm
by
sorry,
March 19th?
I'm sorry, I didn't get
What if we go goes up to $30, let's say by March 19th?
Yeah, then I'm going to make money in my 25 put, but I'll start losing here.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't think that it will cross 25?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I started putting this call.
Right.
Because now March 19th is hardly like 10 days or 12 days away. And
How much is price now?
it's $13.73.
Okay.
So it has to work really hard to reach up to 25. Right now, that's how I foresee this. So I thought, let me sell a call because now the probability of making it to 25 and breaching this is really low. So you can easily see my probability of profit. POP is probability of profit. The system itself is showing 98%,
Wow.
right? So I did not observe, but I just observed just now that system is itself is telling, okay, this is 98%. It is, I mean, honestly, I don't look at it because you would have seen this example that market corrected so hardly. And earlier I had probability of all my trades for around more than 80%. Like 2 weeks back, everything was more than 80% anyway. So I don't look at it, but I'm just looking at it since it is showing me that as per the system's calculation, I might be winning this trade.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I have created a triangle here. One quick disclaimer: this is also called a different with a different name. This is called straddle. All right.
Oh, same. Because, yeah, I was asking. I was about to ask you a question. What is straddle? Is it same or different?
Okay. Yeah, strangle and straddle are exactly same. Only difference is from the strike point of view. If you are in your straddle, your strikes are same, and in strangle they are different. That's it. So this is actually called straddle, but
Okay.
from a learning standpoint, there is hardly any difference.
Mm-hmm.
So in your straddle, this particular point will meet. Your put strike and call strike will be 1 point. So this is
Yeah.
what is happening right now, and this will become like a triangle. So, but there is no other difference in terms of theoretically how they work. They are exactly same. So this is nothing but straddle, but even if you see it as from a triangle point of view, it is fine. Okay, I have done in Romeo also. No, it is a covered one.
So in that case, workhorse one, Varun.
Mhm.
So what do you think? How much loss you are going to get on March 19th if it goes, say, below 25?
Yeah, already it is showing me around $6,000 loss here.
Right, right.
So
And but you are going to get something by just selling the call, right? You said that's why you added it on March
yeah,
19th.
yeah, selling a call, I will get full $226. I will get
Okay.
it full. And on my sell put side, I was making $812. So it is paying me around $1,000 over here
Yeah.
in total, but I'm losing $6,000. So if I try to calculate, I might make a loss of around $5,000.
Yeah. So what would be your strategy? Are you going to get assignment or what will you do?
Yeah, I haven't decided yet.
Hmm.
I think I might take an assignment but this is taking a lot of capital requirement. I mean, this is taking more than 100% already. So maybe I'll take an assignment on this. It will
Okay.
actually reduce my capital requirement if I take assignment.
Okay. Understand.
But
Thanks.
even if I take an assignment, I will have that unrealized loss. It will be an unrealized loss, by the way.
Mhm.
So there are two things here. Uh, but overall it's a loss, and I am still thinking how should I report it into my Discord channel when I have these realized loss and unrealized loss. So realized loss means you have already closed your positions, you have not, your account does not have those portfolio, I mean
Mhm.
those underlyings. So if I just close this workhorse, right, and I don't do trade again, it will be a realized loss for me. So if I close all these positions right now, so this is my realized loss now, see. But if I take an assignment of this, the stock will still be there with me, and broker thinks that maybe later on it will recover and it will become fine. So it is unrealized loss. So that is the difference between these two terminologies.
Mhm.
So I just need to decide. Ultimately, I just need to decide whether I should to realize that loss right now, or I should take an unrealized loss in an expectation that I'll make profit later.
Okay.
So let's see. Yeah, I might have to take a decision. Worst case, I will take a assignment. Mainly on workhorse, it is because ARC is also buying it a lot. So if I see, this is my decision in workhorse case. So if you see workhorse, right? See, on even on 5th of March, on Friday, she has bought how much? 494,600
Wow.
shares.
Mhm.
So she's been buying it. So I am wondering if she's buying it. Basically, the price point right now, this is good for her, right? On March 4th also they bought it. On March 5th also bought it. When market was crashing completely, they were still buying it. So I feel like, okay, there is something happening. They have way more research. They must have had done their research in terms of what is their price target and where they are seeing this company in next 5 years. So by the way, ARK generally is, or even not just ARK, actually all investment funds, they are generally looking for the longer time horizon, not for monthly time horizon or daily time horizon. They might do their trading according to that, but generally they have longer time horizon for their investments. So same goes with ARK. They must be looking for around 4 years or 5 years time horizon.
Like, do you follow this Kathy arc, or what all others, uh, I would say, uh, investors do you follow apart from Kathy?
I'm mainly following them, and I also follow Guru. Even this one is also good. Even this I have also tried to see, but many times it is an information overload, right?
Yeah.
So you you try to open them, and then get lost in all these things.
Yeah.
So this is also a good website where you can see trades being done from many different investors.
Okay. Cool. Thank
Yeah, these two are good, where I try to follow. Here you can see Warren Buffett too. So you can see his portfolio.
you.
So look at this. He sold Apple, and now he has bought Verizon. So we can look at all these things. Only thing is, the advantage of ARK is ARK gives you their trades just on the next day. But these trades could be little delayed because these are all hedge funds, or they have these private transactions happening. So they don't try to keep this transparent. So they have done this in quarter 4 2020, so which is around 3 or 4 months old already. So we don't know when they have done it, and now on what trades they are in. But ARK is really good in terms of understanding what's happening right now.
Varun, what are you doing those with your holding? Some of the one actually I also have
Mhm.
the FSLY, CLO, CLOV, SPCE. Are you planning to wait and watch, or are you going to close them like next week? Because they are also pretty down right now. They may recover. I mean, I agree, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
So main thing, number one thing which I'm looking at is my buying power. So I am almost my 90% of my companies, the stocks which I have bought, they are all high growth companies. So I was expecting if market will go down, they will go really hard, hammered really hard. So that is something I knew. But I also think that these are all growth companies. Most of these EV companies are going to grow in future. So overall, I'm optimistic about them. So I'm okay to take the assignment. So I will have to still look at it, which all does not make sense. But most of them I might try to take an assignment if things are not working out. One more thing which I have done on this weekend, let me show you, which might help you. So this is what I'm trying to do, and I'll share it in the community. So these are my positions, and what I have done is, this is my the underlying value, 100% underlying value. Okay, and what I've done is I have taken what is my maintenance margin requirement by broker. So this is the analysis I did yesterday. And what I've done is I have figured out how much is the percentage of maintenance I need to manage to keep this trade or to take the assignment on this trade. Okay. And if it is more than 50%, then I'm taking the assignment. If it is not, then I'm trying to review it or roll it. Review means I might close it, or I'll try to decide. So this is my thought process here. Does not mean I'm going to follow it. It's just a guidance for me. I'll share this tomorrow in the group. Let me just review it further. And
Sorry, Varun.
Can you
yeah,
explain maintenance? What is that? The number 2 column, number 3 column, maintenance, SC column C.
this is this one. I was showing you, right? These capital requirements.
Okay.
let me mention it as capital requirement.
And why you need that? So 930 for AACQ.
Yeah. So broker wants me to keep $930 to if I have to have this trade.
Okay, okay, I understand.
This is nothing but buying
Some
power.
certain percent of the stock value.
Yes.
Okay,
So
30% or something like that.
yes, right
Upon
now
the
it is
stock,
30.
yeah.
So it is taking up
Yeah.
34% of that stock value to have this trade.
Okay. Okay. Mhm.
So you will also be able to see in your broker account how much is your maintenance margin, and it could be the margin or some it might be some other terminology in your broker, uh, and you can ask them. Generally, it can be called as a capital requirement. So depending on that number, I can at least take a decision only from a buying power perspective. I'm not thinking. I have not seen all these stocks. This is completely black box for me. So I have not looked at it exact which stock we are talking about, but only from a numbers perspective, I have got a guidance. So look at this one, like CRNT. This is already taking up 100% of my buying power. All right. So if I take an assignment or I just do the options trade, it hardly matters. Or till the time I keep this trade in terms of options or in terms of stock, this is taking up my 100% buying power. So does not matter. So this gives me a guidance. Okay, if the trade is fine, I want to keep this stock for some time, I can easily take the stock itself. Or if I am not feeling comfortable with this stock, then I will close this on a loss. Same goes with e-bond. So let's see which all are taking 100%. Look at that. Somebody is eating 176%. All right. NNDM. The value of this stock is 101,250, but my broker is charging me 176% on the margin. And this is why I called up my broker and I told him, why are you charging me too much? And he said, no, because of the high volatility, that's how we do it. So it is completely on a broker. He is thinking that this can go really hard. So he wants more money. I don't know why he wants more money, but he wants more money. He told me for GME, they are keeping it 300% right now. So here I will, if I have to take anyway loss, I can take an assignment and take a loss. It will be actually easier for me rather than they are taking, so much capital. So I'll share this sheet. It does not mean that this is going to define everything, but this might be helpful. And you can change your logic if you want, but this 50% is based on the assumption that generally for the assignment, broker asks you to have the 50% capital.
So your decision to keep or roll it or to take the assignment is that 50% maintenance capital.
Yes.
Like what is that 50% you are seeing? Is maintenance capital?
50% of the underlying value.
So 50% of underlying value, if you have to keep the maintenance capital of 50% of the underlying value, then you will think of taking the assignment. That's what you are thinking.
If my broker is already charging me more than 50% of my underlying value, then I will be better off in taking the assignment because assignment will take 50%. That's how I'm thinking of it.
Okay.
Okay. My assumption is, and it will not happen actually, it will still take 100%, but I'm okay. I mean, it is not giving me any advantage. In all these stocks, right? You see, my maintenance is 100%. So even if I buy stocks, it is going to cost me same. Options are not giving me any advantage in terms of my buying power. Generally, when you take, right, let's say if I take Apple, isn't it? And I try to sell Apple for 100, right? See, I have sold Apple for 100, $10,000 transaction, but I am only paying $597. Correct? But what if this is $10,000 here? My buying power is getting reduced by $10,000. It's not giving me any leverage, any margin leverage. So for me, it's like as good as working on a going to Robinhood and doing that trade, or buying this stock and doing that trade, except getting some small premium here and there, but it's not giving me that leverage. So that is my thought, one of the thought process I am thinking of, that this way at least helps me to understand if I'm getting a leverage. If I'm not getting a leverage at all, it's anyway eating my buying power. So either I will take an assignment or I'll just close them on a loss. This is my thought process here. But if I see here, this one, 10%. So these guys, if you see these guys in my account, I am getting very good leverage. So my maintenance capital for Fiverr is only 10% of the underlying value. All right. So I can plan to review or roll this further because it is a very good leverage for me. I can keep playing this for very long, and it is not hitting me too hard. Did that help you understand that?
Yes,
This will
Varun,
also,
thank you.
this is very
Yeah, this was good, Varun. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is could be really helpful in terms of when you are trying to manage your risk in terms of that buying power, right? Because we are now
Yeah.
main risk is that getting a margin call and then broker is closing our trades just like that. Now, if we are aware of this particular decision point, that we are not rolling it randomly. We have this logical way of doing it, so it will become easier for us.
And sometimes your stocks values are lesser than the capital requirement, right?
Yes.
So it is because of the market volatility.
Yeah.
So what was the logic that was given to you by broker? Like, is there any logic, or like it is very
Volatility.
surprising?
Oh, broker, as soon as they see, okay, this stock is become volatile, they can increase their margin anytime.
Okay. Even the stock price is 10,000, they can just ask for 20,000.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, they can do that. Anytime, even for Fiverr, right? It is
Mhm.
possible that right now they are asking for 2042.53. Anytime this becomes 4 times.
Hmm.
If let's say this Fiverr stocks starts going down, this maintenance capital requirement will increase drastically. So this is possible completely. But right now, if I'm looking at it right now, maybe next week things will change in terms of what are they looking for. But right now, this is what they are asking for. So I will again do this exercise next week. But this is a good starting point for us to make a decision. So
Do you
Fiverr,
know whether Tastyworks APIs are open for a particular user? For example, if I want to create some UI out of this, so that whatever APIs they have, is it open for particular user? Like if I just want to see my data by creating my some service and just create my web page, like
I do not know. I mean, I don't
okay.
think this. I do not know that, but I do not think you can take out your account's information through an API or something. You can take some stock data or something from Tastyworks or from from SEC.
Okay.
I do not know if you can take your own portfolio's value and then do,
Yes. Okay. Okay. That's fine.
because that
But
could be a security concern for them, right? So you will be able to get some generic data, but not the
yeah,
portfolio level data.
that is true. Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, guys, so this might be helpful for you to also take decision. So when let's say if you are about to get a margin call or you're in a risk of a margin call, first thing you can do is, okay, um, what is taking up too much margin for me? So let's say these are taking too much margin for me, right? These guys. So I can either assign that, or if I want to avoid margin call, then I will first of all start looking in these areas. And even in them, I will start looking in them the highest one. Look at this one. This is a outlier here. So if I'll just close this, it safeguards my all other positions. I don't need to babysit too much. Even this one.
Yeah. So, Varun, retrospectively, if I'm seeing, my when I closed my position,
Yes.
I should have seen which stocks are taking more capital, and
Yeah.
then should have closed those ones.
Yeah. That's what.
Okay.
And I try to mention that. Um, did I try to mention? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I did not mention it very clearly, but yeah, this is one of the parameter you can take in terms of closing your positions. But at the same time, everything you cannot decide just by that. But this is a guidance for you. All right. All right. Anything else which will help you guys next week? Okay. Do you have any stocks which we should look at? So I have started setting up my Thinkorswim. I like their technical analysis platform. So I have started setting it up. I think you have Fold,
Okay.
Surbhi, right? So Fold.
Yeah.
So I was not trying to do any technical analysis until now, but let's quickly do this now. Fold. Okay, so Fold was at around 18. It had a very good run. Okay. Have you already done a covered call on this?
No, because I was not getting enough money. If you want to go, I can share my screen with you.
No, that's fine. I think now. So it might take some time to recover because this has already breached our support levels. So you might want to sell covered call at probably 13. If you are, I mean, yeah, 13 will be a support level. Yeah. And your break even is around 15, right?
Yeah.
So 15 will be tough to get at this moment. That's how I'm just looking from a technical analysis perspective. Yeah, let's wait for this week or so, or maybe a Monday or Tuesday. But then if you have to sell a call, you might want to reduce your call to around 13 or so, 14, make it 14. I don't think it will breach it right now if market is bearish. But but the support is good at right now at 9.5 or 10. It is really good. It should not
So
go.
what does that mean? What does that mean, that it's not going to go down further down, right?
Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, I'm expecting that it should not go further down. I mean, whatever loss was supposed to happen, it has made that correction already. If it will go down further, if it breaches even this level, which is it is currently, then it will go to $8. But this is a strong support right now for it. So if you can start selling covered calls on, because next level, if it will breach this, if it will go bullish again, it will go at this level, $12, and then it will go to around $13 or so. So these are the three steps for this. One is $10 or so, then it will hit $12 or so, and then next level is 13. And if it hits 13, then it can easily become bullish, which we have already seen in the past as well. It has happened. If it goes above 13, then it will become very bullish. Okay. Yeah. So maybe don't go sell call for the next level. Maybe sell call for the next to next level, which is around 13.64 here. Okay. What other stock we want to see? All stocks are hammered. So we will try to just, do the loss minimization strategy here. On Workhorse, if I look at it. So Workhorse, the support levels are at 16.54. Okay. If it breaches that, which it has breached yesterday on Friday, sorry, if it does not recover again at this level, then there is a high possibility that it will either go $9.61, and I don't think it will happen. 3.24, it won't happen. But yeah, if it market corrects further, then there is a possibility that it will go here 9.707. And if it go up, it should go up. The next level should be $22. So these are the volume profile, guys. Um, that's what I use for my technical analysis. I don't do that mostly, but in these kind of scenarios now I have started doing it. What else? Any other stocks we want to see?
Varun, about Clove, CLOV.
CLOV, let's look at that. So I'm looking at 2 years one thing, right? The data is very less for this, by the way. Yeah, data is very less for this. But if I just see this data, this was anyway a spec, right? So if I see most of the people have bought in this particular range, okay, around $11 or so. So this has already breached it.
So you can only see whether people are buying or it's just a total volume.
It's a total volume.
So we cannot say whether buying or selling, right?
When that volume is that volume is representing one buying, selling and buying both.
Yeah. So we cannot like discriminate whether or whether it is selling or, for example, if there is a 10,000 volume, you cannot tell whether 5,000 was selling and 5,000 was buying.
No,
It's
but 5,000, that transaction, those 5,000 transactions have happened, right?
yeah.
There are 10,000 people who have bought, 10,000 people uh, who have sold.
Oh, so yeah. Okay. Understand.
On Clove, there is hardly any data. Survi. Uh,
Okay.
Overall, I feel like this will recover from here. The support here is $10, and $10 is there because of the spec it was. So I am seeing a support level here, but it has already gone below that. So pretty much it should be oversold. Yeah, it is oversold right now. Actually, everything should be oversold, but yeah. On this one, what is the strike you have got? I think you must be following my trade, right?
Yeah, Varun, $10, and then I got the premium of 2.65. I think so.
Okay. Have you sold call on this one?
No,
Or you are not following my trade?
no. What was to be sold? I don't know.
When did I sell? Okay, the last trade which I did on 5th, this was this one. I think you would have missed this one, huh?
Which one? Clove. Oh, you sold a call. Yes. So you know why I did not do that? I tried doing that, but what happened is, I was not able to make any money out of it.
Okay.
So you know how? Because my commission is $10, like about $12.
Yeah, it was very low premium. Even I got just $12.
So my if I would have placed this trade, I would be in loss, because
High
I
commission.
would have paid 11 or $12 to place, and then if I have to close, then again I would not have made any money.
No, but this trade is on just for March 19th, in an expectation of closing it. But it's okay. I mean, it is hardly paying us. I just put it because I'm not expecting Clove to reach to 12.5 by March 19th.
And the same with NGA, Varun. I tried to do that, but
Yeah.
then I thought the premium that I was getting was about point 0.1, like 10 cents, was 10 cents, and then so it was $10, and I was paying more in commission.
Oh, okay. Okay, I
So
got it.
because our commission here in Canada is not
Okay.
$1, it is
Okay.
$10 plus
Oh, okay.
$1.25 per option. So
Yeah,
minimum I have to pay is $11.25
got it.
if
Yeah,
I place one option.
yes, sorry. Yeah, I did not think about that particular point. Yep. Yeah, then it doesn't make
So,
sense. So on this one, yeah, I think our break even is what? 12.5 minus 2430. It is around 10 point something. Okay. So we next in the next session, next period we can start selling covered call for 10. But I think Clove will recover. It won't remain at this particular point. They it has been hardly heavily shorted, so it will recover. What else? On this one, if we are taking assignment, yeah, covered call for 10. That will be my approach.
and Varun, FSLY.
FSLY. Okay, so this one had got a support at 83, 82, which has already been breached, right? So ideally it should come. So now it is falling just like that. So it does not have any support here, 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 here. Um, so if it will fall, it will easily fall. Um, it can actually fall until 41. If market gets further and it has to fall, it can actually fall until 41. All right. And if it recovers, then it will come back to 83 uh, support level to start with. Okay. So next is here, and then next is $23. But maybe $23 will not come, but it can come at this level, $41. So basically this represents my volume. And when I talk about volume, right, in past lot of transactions have happened in at these levels. So there might be a lot of buyers at these levels, um, who will start buying. I mean, there are people who might be interested in buying these stocks at these levels. This is how I see this human psychology, and uh, how we can use it, this particular data. But FSLY, I think, yeah, let's wait for it to recover. If it will recover, it will easily come to $83. On this one, yeah, I would suggest to take the assignment as well. It should grow really fast. So a lot of consolidation has happened here. So there's a lot of volume. Yeah, we should be fine to take an assignment, and then it should go up. But if it is going down or market crashes, then it can easily go to $40 level. There's hardly any support in this area. And this is oversold already. So I'm expecting that this should recover. If market is good on Monday or Tuesday, then it should be good. Okay, what other stocks we want to see?
SPCE.
SPC. Okay, so data is less here. So the support level I'm looking at is 17.22. Okay. And right now it is, see, this is already taking this particular wick here. Okay. So see, this has got its support right now. So this is at 23 or something, right? 27. So one of the support is to around 24 here, 23.93. And if it breaches that, then it can hit 17.7. Okay. Uh, and if it goes up, it will go on to the level of 32. So I think when I sold it on put on this one, it was around these levels. So I tried to put my strike here at these levels because this was the support at that particular time period with a good premium. So yeah. So these are the three levels on this one. 17 something, and then 24 and 32. So one low and one high. Okay.
Is it a good stock for assignment, SPC?
Yeah, all these stocks which I have got, most of them are good for assignment in my opinion, because they have just started their life cycle. and there's a lot of excitement for all these stocks. Like EV stocks, I am forcing that EV is not getting over in this particular year. EV bubble might get over maybe next year or so, but this year is not. I don't think EV bubble is going to go away. Bubble in the sense that all these companies have got too much valuation, uh, but I think the excitement is still there, and that's just my opinion. Somebody else could have a different opinion, but I feel like there's too much excitement happening. A lot of companies are coming up, and there's a lot of government or financing injection going on. So this year, I don't think EV is going away. But yes, in EV, this is going to be more of a norm now. Like we have seen in CIIV, what was that name?
CCIV.
CCIV, right? CCIV, we have already seen that bubble. It went really high. People were super excited, and then it tanked, right? Workhorse, I have seen this example. Uh, Workhorse, everybody got so excited about it, and then it tanked just by just by a news of that particular thing that okay, they haven't got the order, which I don't think it's a biggest deal breaker, but people just got panic. CIIC Arrival, even that has got the same issue. I have not invested in that because of that reason, and maybe we will invest into it when it will tank. All right. So CIIC, it has been hyped because it has got UPS order. Okay. So if other orders are anyway getting cancelled, you never know if this particular order will cancel or will change to something else. But overall, this excitement will be there. And my strategy on EV stocks right now is in investing in those companies who are already making some automobiles. So Workhorse is already making automobiles. They are already delivered lot of vehicles. NGA already have a lot of vehicles in the market. There it is like Canada's number one EV company right now. Okay. Uh, AC, ACTC, that is like number one US company for commercial EV vehicles. So I don't think they're going away. It's just that there's a lot of consolidation happening, and someday it will go up. So I am trying to invest only in those companies who have actually done a lot of tangible work already. Even CCIV is a good stock right now, in my opinion, because they have made this car. That car is available in the market. The day they will announce, okay, now this car is available for test drive, their stock will go up. So yeah, that's my theory about it in terms of on a macro level, that uh, these companies who are doing something tangible, they're going to do good in a long term. So
What
Workhorse,
about
yeah,
XPEV? XPEV.
XPEV, I am very bullish.
Okay.
So the way I see this, see Tesla is number one, then NIO, XPEV. Okay, this is consumer segment. And this is commercial segment. ACTC. This is my list. It could be different for somebody else. ACTC, NGA, GIV or something else. I don't remember exactly. Do I have the trade? GIK, GIK. So if you can try to research about these companies. But when I did my research, what I figured out that these companies have done some tangible work in their segment. They have got customers. Their vehicles are on the road right now. Okay, so they're just not dreaming about making something and then coming in the market with those concepts. They have already launched those vehicles. So all these companies are really good. XPEV, I think I actually like XPEV more than NIO because of the valuation. But yeah, right now everything is hammered. And this guy CCIV, this is here right now. I don't know. This is a question mark here. Only thing is, if this will go really good, then maybe this will become number 2. Even it will surpass NIO, just because CCIV is a US company, but NIO and XPEV are the China.
Chinese.
So that's my theory here. So for these stocks, I can keep them for 5 years. So I don't worry about them too much. When Tesla can get around 800%, 800 PE ratio, or 1200 PE ratio, and these companies are right now at around 70 PE ratio or something, they can easily go up in this bubble at least. And if their bubble will burst, even then their PE ratio will not go that bad. There could be, is there any other company in this? Then space is also coming up. I am have a mixed opinion about it. I'm not too bullish about space, but we have to see. I mean, it's a risky proposition right now, but this is very exciting too, given that because of Tesla and SpaceX, lot of excitement has been built. This is a very good segment to look for.
You know that guy, the Chamat guy. I think he was the owner of the SPC, right?
Yeah.
But he sold some, I don't know, some several million shares
Yes.
of SPC. There was a news last week,
Yes.
and that didn't help the share price.
Yeah. All that will happen. I mean, these investors are going to take profit at some time, right? So I don't think there is anything wrong there. But yeah, they will take their profit. So we have to stick to our plan. I do not know very well if, I think Space is already, it's a established company anyway. So I think it will be all right. I will be more worried where the company has not got any revenue and they are still in a concept phase, but they are collected too much money. That's where we will have a lot of problems. But if a company is already collecting money and they are already doing good, so someday it will be fine. So for me, my concern is not this one, not this one. I'll tell you, Clove is also not the one. CFII, I am little concerned on this one now. I have got I went little heavy on this one. But the CFII is a spec for a company called View, who are into glasses. So they are making smart glasses. So when I invested in that, I loved the idea. But now I was looking at their balance sheets and other things in their invest companies details. So they have got a lot of debt because of that. So that is my concern there. The company will do good in a long term, but they have got this debt problem and the investment issues are going to come because of that. So I'm little conscious about that now.
Varun, what do you think about hydrogen powered vehicles?
Hydrogen powered vehicles, you know, there's a make or break deal.
Ballard.
I think there is going to be a make or break deal in them, and I would think to put hydrogen vehicles in this particular category of space, where there's either they will go really do good or they might not do very good. So I do not know really. FCell is in this one, right?
There's a company called Ballard, BLDP.
Okay, how is it doing?
I think it's went down in the last month or so. Went down from 50 to like 30 or something, 35.
Okay. Are they making money? That's the most important thing. If a company is already making money, we can easily ensure that they will be fine. I mean, 5 years, 10 years down the lane, they will be fine. Our money is not going down the drain. But if they're not going to make money, then, I mean, if they are not paying customers, then yeah, the stock might have a issue. Okay, so they have got a lot of patents. That's good. Fuel cell products. Okay, looks like they have already done some work. They have already delivered.
Yeah.
Okay, then we should be fine. Acquired for 160. Okay, I think we should be fine. They should do good. Ballard is which can run at least 22. Ballard delivers fuel cell to. Okay, they are delivering as well. Yeah, they should do good. That's how I see. This is just a normal analysis. I just see, okay, they are doing something, and they're doing something which is complicated, and they can be rewarded by the market for their good work in future. They have got 150 employees, hydrogen fuel cell stacks, ownership split by Daimler, Ford, and Ballard. I think this is a good stock.
Mhm.
But I do not know how overvalued or undervalued this is, but overall looks like a good company. I also shared one more thing. If you guys, anyway, we have some, if we have got more patience, I shared it somewhere. Okay, theme-based portfolio. So you want to have, this I got from the uh, other communities where I am in, and we were discussing about this. So we try to come up with these various sectors which are going to be good or hot in next 10 years, or they are hot right now, and in 10 years they will change the world. So fintech was one, fintech and crypto, EV was one of them, space exploration, cannabis, cybersecurity, e-commerce, healthcare, emerging markets, food innovation, and recovery. So when we were discussing there, these were the themes which came up that these stocks are going to be going to do good in future.
What is fintech, Varun? Fintech?
Financial technology.
Oh, okay.
So even Rocket is Rocket is a fintech company. UWMC is a fintech company. So these new companies who have not got, who don't have any, who are not like banks, but they are more than banks. Square is a fintech company. So these,
Yeah. I was one talk by Kathy Wood, and she was talking about fintech. I didn't understand what she was saying.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
okay. So yeah, these are the sectors which are going to do good, and the companies who are already established in these sectors, they are going to grow really fast. And that's where my high conviction is that if I have already invested in some company which are part of this, then maybe they are going to do good later. All right, guys, anything else? So today's session was uh, more discussion oriented. Huh? All right. Yeah. Thank you, guys. So yeah, we will just let me know if you have any question in the Discord, and we'll try to see how we can manage the situation. So let's hope for the best for the next week. If
Thank
we
you.
Yeah.
move out of March 19th, then we will try to strategize further in terms of putting a safe trades or ensuring that if a market corrects again, we are going to make more money.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. See you soon. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you, Varun. Bye.
Bye.